Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Paz, a rising VTuber and an artist, and today we're going to be working on making some head shapes with MakeHuman. So if you haven't seen MakeHuman before, I've only featured it really once in the streams myself. Its main goal is supposedly to create like a very accurate, or at least highly customizable model of the human body. If I could somehow get this to pan upward, that would be great. MakeHuman. I don't know. Do I have to press Alt? Do I have to do some trickery with Alt? Why does that just keep zooming in? I'm not used to handling this program. If that wasn't obvious, perhaps. What is this? Grid pose. Is there like a camera? Front view? Okay. Could I somehow bargain you? Could I convince you to perhaps in some way? Okay, that's zoom. Maybe shift, control. I'm trying to figure out which combination of buttons kind of gets me to the face because I really want to focus in on the face. Alternatively, I could just set the height to very low and zoom in. But that sounds really dumb, so I don't want to do that. But yeah. So right, MakeHuman is something that I've dabbled with on the program before. On the program as if I have like a TV show. Oh wait, is this? Yes, okay, so you need to use the arrow keys. That's really weird, but I can live with it. It's gonna be really funny when I have to adjust this every single time for height. I could just leave height out of the equation. Again, I'm not really obligated to do height, but I feel like height could provide like a very attractive dimension for hitting randomize. Anyway, MakeHuman was supposed to be this program, or it is this program, I suppose. What I say supposed to be because it's not what I say supposed to be as in its intended purpose, right? So its intended purpose is to create like a fairly accurate human body and kind of use it to not really create characters so much as it is like you could figure out like show me that freak. You got it. You know what? Let's just jump right into it, I think, because you've seen MakeHuman before. You know that this homunculus is gonna go through some shit. I did kind of just want to see though, because there is thankfully a randomize button, right? And it has something called macro, face, body, and height. Now, normally these are all ticked. I want to see what happens if I untick them all and still hit randomize. Is that going to change anything? No. Okay, cool. It is kind of what I was hoping for then. Okay. I think we're going to keep the height the same just because then we can really see some bullshit. Or rather, we don't need to refocus the camera on the model, on the face's model every single time. Alright, let's hit randomize and see what it spits out. Okay, already very powerful. Very kind of... reminds me a little bit of a fish in some regards. Pinhead? Yeah. Bro's been working out at the library. But yeah, this is kind of the idea, right? We're going to just very quickly snap a picture of Pinhead over here. And we are going to... if I can find where I put the Clip Studio Paint window. We're just gonna draw... or actually, wait, maybe what we could do, come to think of it, maybe we could get Pinhead... ooh. Powerful angle on Pinhead. Maybe we can get, like, Pinhead on a specific angle or something, just so that it's not always on the portrait, because I feel like this could be a very good exercise in that kind of perspective and such. You know what I mean? Remember, like, a few months ago, I think it was a few months ago at this point, where everybody was drawing Farron at that one really interesting, at this kind of head angle, and they were struggling. Well, okay, one guy was struggling, other people were handling it pretty well, and it became like this kind of teachable moment for everyone where they were just talking about how they draw from that angle. But yeah. Very interesting that it kind of becomes square shaped towards the back here. I like that. I've been reading a lot of One Piece recently. And I've been looking at some of the character designs that this guy Eiichiro Oda makes, and I'm thinking to myself, where in the hell did you get the idea to make something like that? And it's really fascinating because listen, One Piece has some of the most fucked up looking freaks ever conceived of. So I think that's kind of interesting. The one thing that I do despise is that there seems to be exactly one body type he has for attractive women. And that keeps pissing me off while I'm yeah, no, bone structure is like insignificant. You can be born with the most fucked up looking head perhaps in the universe. And you will still be able to deadlift a car through training. It's very egalitarian in that way. Okay. This is pretty good. What can we do to make this more interesting though? Because I'm trying to think of this in terms of hang on. Right, I'm maybe breaking it down a little bit in terms of the underlying components. It's I don't know how to put it. Like the one thing that I feel in One Piece that I feel like is very interesting in how it executes its character designs is that for a lot of them you would feel like they wouldn't work in any other. How do I put it? They have a good silhouette, but it's more than that. Like I feel like in a lot of the cases, you wouldn't expect the design to be able to like be viewable from more than one angle. And like there is like a specific angle that eventually kind of gets adapted by the different characters. Like I swear to God, like for the one guy who on Big Mom's team whose whole power is turning stuff into candy, we only see him from like 3 different angles at most. Okay, interesting how this works out. Also, I am cooking rice right now, on a very on-brand move. I might need to step away from my desk to turn off the rice cooker in like 5 minutes. Oda did not want to imagine what this guy looked like from any other angle. No worries. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's exactly like this. Like, Oda will make up some insane fucking guy that he will think is like the funniest shit ever, and he'll be like, this guy's the funniest shit ever, I gotta include him in the comic. And he adds him, and then like 5 minutes later, he's like, okay, time to draw him from a different angle. And he does it one time, it's like, okay, never doing that again. Time to have Luffy or Zoro or whoever the fuck beat the shit out of this guy so I never have to draw him again from any other different angle. If we're lucky, we might see him in a cover story in 2 to 3 months. Okay, so that's one possibility, right? I kind of want to exaggerate some of these features though, as well. I feel like I need to be able to operate on multiple levels. Like, okay, this is the basic structure of the head, right? What can I do to make it even more fucked up looking? So I'm thinking maybe... Okay, nostril the same size. Maybe kind of more droopy lips. Gotta be something I can do to... I'm trying to think about how I could introduce shading into this equation. Because I feel like that would be pretty powerful. Should I also give the mannequins hair? I feel like I've already kind of given them a pretty difficult lot in life by being literally... I say that they're going to be literally randomized human beings, as if every human being isn't randomized. Gonna give this guy like a maybe some kind of buzz top. I don't know, that I feel like that fits the vibe that he's putting out. Maybe some kind of strange eyebrows too. Yeah, like right around here where the scalp should kind of begin. Maybe we can just kind of... a really nice, tidy buzz cut. How's that look without the model? Okay, that's pretty good. What we could do is also just add a... what's the fill tool? I've been thinking about using the fill tool like this more often, where I use it for shading. Hang on, I need to be a little bit stronger than that. Yeah. Okay. Gonna need to figure out what eyebrows to give this poor person. Or I don't know. Do we feel like this is more of a maybe eyebrowless kind of persuasion? I feel like that's cruel. Messy eyebrows are kind of hard to do. Maybe if I... there we go. Some kind of fuzzy eyebrows. Yeah, something like this, I think, would be good. Okay, what other... what else do you have for me, MakeHuman? Oh, wow. Why does it keep giving them that kind of pinhead sort of... I don't want to use the word physiognomy, but, you know... Why do they keep getting... or maybe that's just what human heads look like. This guy does look like very young and very old at the same time. Maybe because of the symmetry slider? Could that be it? Hang on. We're gonna save this specimen for future usage, right? Like, we gotta preserve this guy in some manner of liquid or vat or, you know, layer. Like, that's not in question, but I do wonder if it is because I have been turning off the symmetry slider. There we go. Okay, real quick back to MakeHuman. Right. Maybe okay, so if we maximize the symmetry, is that going to produce more? Okay, yeah, that feels like more in line with what I would expect for the shit. Okay, maybe more angular towards the top? It does have a sort of teardrop shape to it. Kind of digging what's going on with the back of the head here, though. You know, there seems to be like this very satisfying kind of plane right here. I don't know. Maybe we can get a better chance look at it from the front. You see what I mean? It reminds me of like a ship's bulkhead or something. It's kind of mesmerizing. It's a little bewitching. But yeah. Anyway, let's draw the guy that looks both 5 years old and 20 years old at the same time. Or sorry, 5 years old and 40 years old at the same time. Okay. And then we're just going to add maybe something like this. And okay, for the head, maybe just some kind of frizzy hair. I think that kind of suits this. I don't know. There's like a sort of benevolent mischief in these eyes, I feel. Like there's a sort of kindness to the expression. Some benevolence, yeah, some kind of kind gleam to it that I find difficult to fully articulate. Maybe it's the roundness of the cheeks. I think maybe that's what's making me think of it as sort of making me think of the face as somewhat peaceful looking. I think that might be it. Also, I'm just gonna go ahead and make the folder 40% opacity just so I don't have to adjust it per layer. I think that's going to be a move that saves me a lot of time in the future. Okay, there we go. Maybe we need to fine tune some of these shadows. This is looking a little bit rough. That doesn't seem right somehow. That looks like it's almost like there's a cup indentation on the head here a little bit. I think this will do. Okay, right. The next one on the chopping block, if you please. Okay, we already had one guy from this kind of profile side. I'm really digging what's happening with the nose here, honestly. Like, I feel like that's a very strong shape for it. You know, that kind of like the bridge kind of jutting out like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. Or actually, maybe we can just... Maybe the opposite side? I really want to capture that kind of nose bridge that's happening here, but I don't want to repeat the same angle twice. Let's just go with this one. Okay. So what's new with you, Pearl? How did the Fallout Equestria reading go, or book report go? I haven't had a chance to look at the bot, but I remember I read like fairly deep into it at one point, but I haven't been able to pick it up for the read through. for the book club. Going fine. We only covered the first 12 chapters since that's the first arc. Neat. Okay. I almost feel like the expression here is looking up, right? So it took us almost 3 hours, so that's why we broke it up for future episodes. Ah. That makes sense. Okay. So wait, reading 12 chapters took almost 3 hours, or discussing it almost took 3 hours? Either way, I feel like that. I don't know. 12 chapters in 3 hours actually sounds like a fairly brisk pace. Discussing 12 chapters. I see. No, that makes sense, because I remember each chapter is like fairly dense. Like, I think by chapter 3, we've been out of the vault for like 5 hours, and I think by then, Little Pip's already killed someone. 70,000 words. That sounds about right. Is Fallout Equestria the great American novel? I feel like it puts it. I feel like Fallout Equestria is to me on the same level as maybe Blood Meridian. Little Pip accumulates a body count of like 30 people in the span of less than a day. She's a girl stepped outside and started killing. She's a little bit too good at this. I mean, it's good that she is, because I like Little Pip. But we have to have a conversation about the fact that she's like really, really good at killing people for someone who has never had any experience or particular need to kill people before she started killing people. Like, she's like that one picture that's like, guys, how do I play the game? Little Pip scored a kill. Little Pip scored a double kill, triple kill, quintuple kill. And she's like, never mind, I got it. Also, I feel like increasing the symmetry has not really abated any of the egg-headedness that we've been observing, but you know what? That's fine. A little bit of egg-headedness is fine. How do we get concave heads? I mean, if we can find like a frying pan button, I'm sure we'll be able to work something out. It is real. I find it kind of fascinating that for as much control, sometimes you do kind of just want to get in there with like a sculpting tool or something, right? I'm gonna shear off a lot of the concave head just because it is bugging me. Or actually, what would happen if, okay, as an experiment, right? Let's just continue giving this person the hairstyle that we were giving them before, with the assumption that they do in fact have this concave ass head or convex ass head. How does that look, shall we say, without... You know what? That's pretty normal. That looks honestly just fine. Maybe I'm overestimating the concave head situation or convex head situation. It's really funny that I feel like I've always been pretty good at keeping track of what is concave and what is convex, just because of the fact that one of the words has cave in it, which means that that one's the one where it's inward. Right? Because caves go inward. But sometimes, but it's like thinking about like right and left. Like sometimes you still need to occasionally make the L with your left hand just to remember which one is which. Or like stalactites and stalagmites. I feel like I can't do those off the top of my head. Stalactite because it clings tight to the ceiling. Yeah. Stalagmites. Stalagmite has a G in it, so it comes from the ground. And shoot, have I just been drawing this without actually showing the actual drawing? Shit. I'm gonna need to be better about that. But yeah, this is the maybe. Hang on, maybe perhaps right. What if I were to evade this problem in the future by, say, making a live MakeHuman reaction window right over here? Hey, you know, stalactite and stalagmites are definitely like one of the more fun ones to remember. God, it is kind of haunting how you can kind of see, like, over here the actual head, and then on clip the products of that head. Alright, let's randomize this again. Oh, this one's kind of fun. And hey, we got like a fairly normal head, back of the head kind of proportion to the front of the head this time. Big fan of that. Maybe a top-down look for this one? What are we thinking? I feel like that takes good advantage of this kind of bump up here. You know what do you see what I mean? Like he has some kind of squarishness kind of in the middle of that forehead. I'm kind of enjoying it. I'm kind of liking it. Should we give this guy the Australian mullet? I kind of want to show off the forehead a little bit, so I feel like that would be a valid option. Australian mullets have fucked me up since the first time I knew that they existed. They're kind of like if you got a whatchamacallit, like a, I forget the name. You know that one that's kind of like this, where you have, hang on, where you have no hair on either sides, but you have a lot of hair on the top. It's kind of like the sideways version of that, a little bit. I'm also gonna need to remember to try and exaggerate these if I can. I think this guy is just gonna go in no eyebrows. Yeah, let's make like a real kind of crappy looking guy. There is, however, some kind of pained look in his eye, I feel. Like maybe it's a slightly forlorn expression. Perhaps this person has had to learn a few difficult lessons throughout their life. I can see it, his sadness, right? There is like a sort of sadness in these eyes. Maybe some kind of scar, I think. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I feel bad about giving him an Australian mullet now. He looks a little bit like Piccolo. You know what? Kind of seeing him like this, I feel like he looks a little bit like Piccolo. He looks a little bit just like human Piccolo, yeah. Or maybe I should just give him like a receding hairline, just a more generic one. You know what? I don't think I've ever drawn somebody with a proper like a proper Norwood scale receding hairline before. Let me see if I can try and do it. God, what if they went to Namek and all the other Namekians had hair already? Like, what if Piccolo was the only Namekian who was bald? That'd be so fucked up, right? It'd be a little bit fucked up. I'm glad that they're all bald. They're all bald green people. Don't get me wrong, but I do think that there should have been just a single something to indicate that Piccolo's life was kind of fucked for by Namekian standards. Like yeah, his Namekian progenitor was like King Piccolo, the god of the demon of evil or whatever, right? Which already kind of puts you on the back foot. But imagine if he's also like the only Namekian who doesn't have hair, right? Like, what if he's the only Namekian who has never paid for a haircut in his entire life? Maybe that's why King Piccolo got banished originally. He's too bald to fit in. What a sad story. I can see what he tried to take over the planet now. Listen, when life gets you down, sometimes you gotta try and conquer the planet for the hell of it. I feel like it's a good kind of confidence builder, even if it doesn't really work out in the end. You know, it's more about the journey than the destination. Piccolo wants to fade so bad, but he was designated bald from birth. I feel like if the Namekians had hair, they would love getting fades. I feel like they genuinely would just deeply enjoy getting like very nice, very meticulously maintained barbershop flat tops. It is kind of interesting that wait, has okay, this is gonna sound like a strange question. Has a lack of hair ever been a thing in Dragon Ball as like a gag bit or anything like that? Because I feel like height has definitely been one, right? Like the very first guy, King Pilaf, tried to activate Dragon Balls because he didn't like being so short, right? He was really frustrated by being a manlet, so he decided to go on a globe-trotting adventure and steal these magical marbles from a 10-year-old child who was killing bears by the time he could, before he probably learned how to count. It's usually getting more hair is a sign of power. That's true. God, it is such a shame that we never got to see Nappa go Super Saiyan. This would answer so many questions about Saiyan physiology. Because obviously they get more hair when they power up, right? Like that's never been in question. That's never been like a particularly debatable point of contention for Saiyans. But what if the Saiyan in question is bald? I feel like that would be a fairly interesting, not necessarily a conundrum by the traditional definition, but I would love to see it. Like, I feel like the logical answer is that it wouldn't affect the bald Saiyan. I feel like the bald Saiyan would probably not be would not grow hair. I do think their face would probably get more fucked up though. Because I feel like the whole thing about the hair growing out is to kind of underscore this idea of like bestial power that the Saiyans have. Because like even the name Saiyan was supposed to be a syllable swap of the word Yesai, which is like wild man. So I feel like for a Saiyan, it would make sense that like they would just look more animalistic regardless of how much hair they had originally. Bald Nappa gets Super Saiyan hair, but he has a bald spot. Saiyan Super Nappa gets a tonsure, just inexplicably. Like you see him and he's like, "Bro, shouldn't you be wearing like a friar's smock? Why are you? What's happening here?" Okay, we're ready for another one, I think. Let's tone down the symmetry and see what happens. I feel like we're gonna get another pinhead for sure. No, another. This guy kind of looks like the first guy a little bit. Hang on, go like this. No, the cheekbones are way more defined. This is more of a okay, interesting. Interesting. Okay. Honestly, this just for all intents and purposes just looks like a normal guy. I feel like some of the other ones have been kind of strange, but this guy just looks like a normal, regular human being. I wonder if I should maybe change the expression so that maybe they've got their mouth open or something. I feel like this is helpful though, just for how do I put this? Learning the limits of what is a how do I put this? Like I feel like this kind of helps muscle memory a little bit because like once you kind of get an idea for like the limits of what you can get away with, you are better able to get away with breaking those limits. Okay, then over here. I'm I almost feel like this guy needs like some kind of fedora or something. I don't know. He's got like he has like the facial expression of somebody who would wear like a nice formal hat when going outside. He looks like somebody's random uncle. Hmm. What kind of hair to give this fella? I think may just may just close cropped natural hair, I think. Sort of like this. That's a very striking profile. I like that about him. Hmm. Maybe a couple spots over here. That's something else that I want to remember more often is that I can just give people beauty marks. Okay, we're gonna go over here and Okay, there we go. Something like that, I think. I also like the kind of shape of the jawbone here. Like, there's something very handsome about having like a very like defined jawbone like this. I don't know. It's very texturally interesting to me. Might need to blend out some of those shadows though. God, yeah. Also, weirdly enough, I feel like my favorite character. Okay, so let me clarify a little bit. I have some idea of what goes on in One Piece, but I've never actually read. I've never actually been like current with the manga. I remember reading up to like maybe the end of the Alabasta arc, but not really anything beyond that. So recently, I've been trying to read through as much of it as I can, just in my off time, and it's been very rewarding. I feel like my favorite character. I don't really have a favorite Straw Hat, but I do think my favorite character out of everyone is actually just Big Mom. I'm caught up enough on it to know what's going on. Yeah. The people keep me posted about the goings on of that silly Billy Monkey D. Luffy. But yeah, I think my favorite character out of anyone is just Big Mom, weirdly enough. I have like a very soft spot for a character who's just like humongous and unfuckwittable. Also, her backstory genuinely gave me chills when it ended. That shit was scary as hell. Did I give? Okay, I did give this guy eyebrows. For a second, I was worried that I didn't give this guy eyebrows. Woman who has an insanely fucked up backstory and made it everyone else's problem. Yeah, genuinely, there's no reason that Big Mom was supposed to be born like that or was like that. She was just like some kind of natural born freak of nature. And like she was actually like a very sweet kid, evidently. Like she didn't she had like those fits of hunger where she would just fuck up everything in her path until she got what she wanted, which isn't great, but she's a kid. What are you gonna do? And then like and then she eats people. Implied she cannibalized her adoptive family, and it's just like, okay, hope that doesn't happen again. I'm glad that now she's switched to apparently sucking out people's souls, because I feel like even though they still die, that's definitely an improvement over her just straight up eating a motherfucker. Like, what? She definitely ate one of her kids at some point, right? Like, we know that there's like a bunch of like the Charlotte family. We know that she has her Charlottelings, right? But like, she definitely ate one of her own kids, maybe on accident sometime at some point, right? Like that definitely had to have happened at some point. That's why she has so many. So true, actually. Fascinating. It is also. It's just so fucking funny to me that she decided that the best way to make sure that the pirates were mostly loyal to her is just to give birth to them herself. Insane. Like, okay, like there have been some fairly manipulative parents. Like, obviously, like Vince Smoke Judge is going to die, and he will be judged in this world and the next for his sins, right? But it's yeah, like, it, like it's the kind of thing where like if you think about it for even 5 seconds, you need to be like, that's so fucked up. Actually, wait a minute. But I just really like her. I like that she's just like this insanely. I don't know, man. I'm a pirate because my mom tells me to. Yeah, guys, sorry, I can't go to Chuck E. Cheese's today. Yeah, my mom says I have to blow up a town or something and pillage and whatnot. Yeah, she says that I'm not allowed to have dinner until I've set fire to at least like 15 buildings. It's fucked up, but you know, she's mom, so I don't. Also, she might have eaten my younger sister. I don't. I've only been here for like 8 years. She seems to have really high expectations of me. I guess I should probably do something about it. I don't know. Yeah. I also really liked the lead up to the wedding in Whole Cake because it's very. I'm only the 38th youngest and she expects me to be in the top 10 oldest. I like that you could read that as either all the oldest siblings are going to be murked by this new kid. Oh no, we're back to having the pinhead vibes. You could read that as either the kid being expected to perform in like way out of what they're capable of, but also you could read that as her being like, yo, you should take out your older siblings, show some real initiative. Also, you do just kind of have to love Katakuri for being what he is. I think the fight with Katakuri wasn't as wasn't something that I was really like looking forward to out of the arc, but I do like the kind of dialogue that it invited between him and Luffy. Also, the relationship between Katakuri and Brule is really sweet. I really like that a lot. It's also really funny that a lot of the Wada Katakuri at the time was the first motherfucker to give Luffy a run for his money after the time skip. Yeah, like up until that point, the most trouble that they'd run into was fucking Hody Jones, who for all intents and purposes got much farther than he was supposed to. Like because we went from the meetup of Sabaody to Fishman Island, and literally there were like very few problems that Luffy couldn't solve with violence in Fishman Island. Like genuinely, it was just run up, beat the shit out of the guy in question, and then leave. Most of the issues came from the fact that they were surrounded by water, and also that there was this insane scale of a problem coming at them towards the end of it. But they were never really out of their depth per se. They were in some tight situations, but I don't think they were really out of their depth. And here comes like Whole Cake Island, which starts off with Luffy having to fight for like a day and a half against one of the Linlings. Charlotte-lings, whatever. Yeah, I guess Charlotte-lings would be probably the correct term. And eats the guy. Well, no, he doesn't eat the guy. He eats the armor that the guy has. And you're like, okay, this place is kind of tough. This place is definitely we're in danger here, right? And then here comes Charlotte fucking Katakuri. His ability to perceive the future and just beats the dog shit out of Luffy until Luffy fucking locks in and learns to read the future as much as he does. Post time skip really does go crazy. I really also appreciate how, toward the end of the arc, the main question wasn't, oh boy, how are Luffy and the gang gonna defeat Big Mom? It's how do we get the fuck away from this mad woman? Like, we're not going to win here. That's like out of the question. Right? We're not going to win here. The best we can hope for is like to leave with everybody alive. And I do think that is just a fascinating... That's always a very compelling... Not plot device? Plot. I think it's just more generally, yeah, kind of a plot. Sorry, we gotta get the fuck out of here, man! Dude, this whole Cake Island arc is fucked. I just saw a guy boil the ocean 3 feet to the right, and the camera didn't even pan on him. That's how fucked up things are here. I gotta get the fuck out of here. God, that also my second favorite part of Whole Cake Island is probably Pound and how he. God, Pound is such a fascinating character because he's introduced as this weird chud who's been planted into the ground like a turnip, who's like, oh yeah, who talks like a valley girl, by the way. Grown-ass man who speaks like a valley girl. And by the end of it, you feel so much sympathy for him because all he wanted to do was to see his daughters again. Gonna give this guy some forehead wrinkles. Pretty sure Oda just goes to one of those random character generators and hits roll until he gets something he likes. Yeah. Like, what other reason would he have to create fucking Gecko Moria? A guy who looks like a chicken drumstick. And had like maybe 2 chapters of his arc dedicated to a fight specifically with him. Gecko Moria is such a fucked up looking guy. Like, genuinely. Like, have you seen how he's... hang on, I'm gonna put him on screen just because, like, I need to really, like, hang on. Cause this fucking guy... I need to get, like, a full body picture of him. Where's the gallery section on the wiki page? Look at this absolute specimen. Why would you make a guy that looks like this? It's crazy to think of. The belt is so low on the pants. Again, looks like a chicken drumstick. Wears a mesh shirt under a cravat. Has like his surgical scars along his neck for some reason. Fucking incredible. Weirdly enough, I do think one of my favorite character designs isn't really from a hero, but actually from the pro wrestler that Blackbeard has on payroll, the fucking Jesus Borges. I don't know, I just really like his design. There's something just very subtle but appealing about like a huge dude who wears a black t-shirt. Hang on, where's this guy's picture? This friggin' guy. I don't know, there's just something really appealing about this guy. Really sad, kind of sad that he works for Blackbeard because that probably means he's gonna be in a crater by the end of the series, but you know what? Yeah, this fucking guy. God. Listen, the thing about One Piece villains is that they're all such fucking weirdos as well. It's so good because, like, okay, Caesar Clown is a guy who is made out of gas, which is already pretty weird. He also like wants to be Oppenheimer so fucking bad, but like the thing is that One Piece already has an Oppenheimer, and his name is Vegapunk, and he very, very much resents the fact that he's not One Piece Oppenheimer. It's so weird because like during his arc, like they make such a huge deal about the fact that he can just like remove the oxygen from a room. Yeah, Caesar. Caesar is his last name. His first name is Clown. Fuck it. We got my guy, Clown Caesar. As far as I'm concerned, all Caesars are Clown Caesars. Guy at the Roman consulate. I actually did know Caesar back in high school, like a guy named Caesar. Decent guy. I hope he's doing okay. Now, what kind of hairstyle should I give this person, though? Because, like, I'm feeling like maybe some kind of pompadour? Something kind of, like, brought all the way up, I think. Okay, so this is gonna kind of come up like this. I think this is correct. There we go. I'm not sure. Okay, maybe I need to look into how eyebrows where eyebrows kind of actually lay on the human head, because I feel like I have no idea how eyebrows work actually. Also, I think I was doing that on the wrong layer. My bad. Or actually, maybe instead of adding a new layer, I can just remove them from this layer, since I actually haven't done anything with this just yet. Yeah, genuinely just the eyebrows I drew on the wrong layer. Let's just rescue them and add them to the correct one. But yeah. The other thing that I was impressed on, just binge reading One Piece as I have been, is just how much they haul ass in every second of screen time. Maybe it's because I started by watching the anime and now I'm reading the manga, and, you know, obviously a weekly manga is going to have a much different pacing from a weekly television series, right? But at the same time, like, these lunatics are on an island for maybe 1 or 2 days at most at a time. Like, by my reckoning, the longest that they've stayed on a specific island in any of the arcs was probably one during Alabasta, when they had to traverse the continent twice, which, you know, obviously is going to take time. They were there for like a couple of weeks. And the other time was in Wano, where they've been chilling out for like for 2 weeks or so. I think that was like the kind of deadline they had for like the raid that they were planning. But other than that, they like stay in a place for like maybe a day, less than a day sometimes. Yeah, the entire first part of One Piece pre-time stick, it takes place over a year. I heard that it was around 7 months. Which is an unfathomably breakneck pace. Like, and I'm assuming that at least 5 of those months were spent off-screen sailing from place to place. Like, they had to have been, right? Because, like, otherwise... Because think about it, Syrup Village took place over 2 days, right? Orange Town took place over a day. Fucking Arlong Park also took place over a day and a night, because they went out the next day. Fucking Luffy rolled up into town, picked up Zoro, and left in less than a day. like they came in the morning, and by the time they left, the sun hadn't even set. One Piece is like one of the most haul ass shows that there's ever been. Imagine defeating a secret organization, defeating the world government's black ops in less than 7 months. Yup. Yeah, no, wait, because like Water 7 would have taken place over the course of, I think, 3 days. Yeah, because they came to town. Robin leaves. They came to town during the day. Robin leaves. They have the fight with Usopp in the evening. They have to rescue the iceberg at night. Things go absolutely fucking pear-shaped at night. They set out on Rocket Man the next day. I think by the time they arrive at Enia's lobby, it's like the morning of the next day, so that's like 2 days. Yeah, Water 7 taking 3 days is insane. That felt like forever. Yeah, that shit, it took place over 3 days, yeah. Like, including the trip back and everything on the Going Merry, that took like 3 days. and most of day 2 was just beating the shit out of everybody standing between them and Robin. Jesus Christ. The whole shit between everything that happened from Amazon, from like the end of Zabaody to like, so Amazon Lily, Impel Down. Okay, so Amazon Lily, they set out during the day. They reached Impel Down, let's say midday. They ended up going to, Luffy got poisoned. That took 8 hours. So that's like a day, right? They go, and that's the day going into night. They break out of Impel Down, go to Marineford. That's on the very next day, so that's 2 days. And then every fucking Marineford happens in a single day. And then it's back to Amazon Lily. So that's 2 days these fuckers it fucking took for Luffy to not only break into the world's premier high security, this Alcatraz of the universe prison, right? Jesus Christ. I don't know. I just find it kind of weirdly admirable. Like, I don't know why I expected things to take longer, but like, when it really is just that Luffy is just always fucking going somewhere. Like he's not like, oh, maybe we should need to bide our time and plan this shit out. No, he hears about where you are and he immediately approaches your location to whoop your ass. Like the time between like submitting a ticket, i.e. when Luffy figures out that you're a problem to be solved, and him solving the problem is generally less than a day, and that's fucking insane to me. I don't know why I keep expecting it to take longer, right? I don't know why I had it in my mind that like, oh yeah, like the scale of these events in proportion to like when they take place is insane to think about. And I think that's like 90% of the reason why they get away with it is because just by the time somebody realizes that shit's been going sideways, they're already gone. What an insane manga. There's never going to be anything like it. I'm going to move this guy a little bit to the left. I don't know. I think there's almost like a good argument to be made that One Piece really does encourage a sort of, not really carpe diem mindset, but definitely like it kind of instills in you the idea that why the hell do you need to wait for anyone? What are you waiting for? Just fucking go. Listen, just start and somehow shit will work out. You just need to fucking take that. You just need to put one foot in front of the other, and you just need to keep going, and eventually you'll figure something out. I wouldn't call it inspirational, but I do think it is a valuable message, even if it is not one that is kind of unintentional. Well, no, it is. It is intentional. It is part of the thesis, but maybe not in the way. May not present it in the way that, like, I don't know how to put it. Like, it's because of this, because of the approach that One Piece posits that is ideal for life, or at least ideal if you want to be like Luffy. Which is to say, not ideal for like 90% of this population, but you know what? Whatever. But like just the way that it delivers storytelling really makes you really just kind of encourages you to think less about like, okay, what is actually standing in my way, so much as where do I need to go next? And I think that is interesting. Like I said, I don't know what gave me this expectation that things would take as long as they would, or really, I don't know where I got this notion of that things are supposed to take a certain amount of days. Maybe it's because I've been reading. Maybe you know what I think it might be. I think it might be that I just read too much like Chinese cultivation fantasy machine translated and stuff when I was growing up, or like fairly recently. I've been reading it, and I think maybe that's been affecting my perception of time because I feel like in those stories it's normal for conflicts and plot lines to take a year plus to resolve because you know these people live in terms of centuries. To them, spending a year or two in a protracted war is no big deal. But you know that's not really what we do in the Straw Hat Pirates, apparently. Okay. I like how angular this person's face is. There's no. It's almost like like from this angle they don't really have like that distinction for the brow line. It just goes like a diamond here. Hmm. Maybe a haircut with a ponytail would be nice here. We got to move this down a little bit though, if that's how we're gonna play it. Just like this, and then like this. Perfect. Okay, and then we're gonna kind of have it tied up back here. Okay, and then really powerful nostrils on this one. I like that. There we go. But yeah, I'm going to feel very. I feel like I've chosen the perfect time to kind of start catching up because I feel like there's a lot of crazy shit that's going down that I'm not going to have the full context to appreciate. Unless I'm making this read through right now. Okay, then over here. Also, there's just like never a bad time to start a hugely influential series. I think. Okay, well, maybe if like you're on a plane that's about to crash, maybe that's a bad time. But like, other than that, I think even then, that's not really a bad time to start. It's just bad circumstances that you find yourself in. Okay, maybe if you're the pilot on a plane about to crash, it's not the best time to start a hugely influential series. I think that's okay. Is that enough of a disclaimer? Is that sufficiently fair? I feel like that one's pretty fair. Okay, quick lasso fill. There we go. Okay, that's nice. Maybe a little bit lower here. Yeah, that looks nice. Then we can blend it out on the side. Okay. I didn't even remember that I tried to block it out on this first guy. Funny how that works. Okay, what do we have next? Oh, wow. Oh, this is a really good face. I don't know how to put it. There's something very charismatic about it. So on some of the other ones, the verticality felt off. Like like the verticality of the head didn't really fit in with the rest of the features. But on this one, it feels right. I feel like I should give myself like the allotment of a single bald person on these kinds of drawing streams, just because it is helpful to work on the different hairstyles here and there. But yeah, I don't know. This face is just, I don't know. It's kind of very. I find it charming for some reason. I hope I can do it justice. Okay. Maybe a mustache or some kind of facial hair. That I feel like that's promising. Maybe a little bit of this. His thoughtful gaze. There is something very profound about the expression. Maybe I should give him like a beanie or something. He looks like one of the characters from Paranorman. I think that's what he reminds me of. I think that's what made me instinctually really think of the goatee and the mustache. Yeah, I think we're just going straight up bald on this guy. We're going bald mode. What would you do if you were in an alleyway and somebody yelled "Go bald mode" on him? Like you just overheard that. Maybe you're like in a fire escape or something, and you just heard that from one of the apartments, or like maybe the walls in your apartment are pretty thin, and you heard that from the next door neighbor, like "Go bald mode" on them. Would that be cause for alarm? I feel like anybody who would be willing to say "Go bald mode" on them, go bald mode now. Not a request, a demand. Okay, maybe. Okay, I think I know what's throwing me off about these eyebrows is that I need to move them a little bit like so, or actually, yeah, maybe a little bit to the left. And this one a little bit to the right. And maybe kind of fan it out like this. Yeah. Okay. Very nice, very nice. There we go. I just using a little bit of a lighter tone on that particular one because I feel like I try to, for efficiency's sake, I try to use lower opacity, but use just like there we go. That actually worked out pretty well. I try to just use the fill tool with low opacity, but just using straight up black. And that seemed to work pretty good. Let's try and use that in the future as well. Now, we did have to go back and rework it here and there with the change luminosity tool, but that's much easier. That's much less effort expended compared to manually adjusting the color each time. Okay. I'm liking that. Okay, what's the next one gonna be like? Oh, shit. Also a very distinguished kind of face. You know what? Maybe we can do this one kind of head on almost. Like this. Okay. Going for about an hour and a half, I think. Maybe another half an hour of this. I don't know. I don't feel like it. I need to start being more conscious of what an exercise is supposed to produce, because I think that only then is when you really make progress with it. I'm not sure what I'm getting out of this, but it is kind of just fun to do. Okay, kind of like that. I like the shape of the ears that is produced sometimes. I feel like I don't really think about ears too much or stylizing people's ears because due to the particulars of how I render things, right? Just because of the homogeneity of ears that is kind of like particular to how I've learned to draw them. I don't really think about ears that much, but they can be quite the rich sort of surface. I don't know. I feel like they're one of those more tricky areas because everybody's ears look so different from one another. Like they have the same structure, but they can have like so many variations. Oh shit, my rice. I forgot to turn off the cooker. It goes into keep warm after it finishes cooking, but let me just go turn that off right now. Sorry, I just dipped out to go check on it. I was supposed to go to the BRB screen, but I kind of had to. I was moved to hurry. Thankfully, it doesn't look like it's burnt or anything. I scraped it along the bottom just to double check, and it does seem to be in good condition. Thank goodness. I was a little bit nervous about it. Oops. Let's try that again. I was a little bit nervous about it because it was a new type of rice that I haven't cooked before, or rather, I haven't put in my rice cooker before. And while generally speaking, rice cooks the same, except for brown rice, which does take longer to cook just because it still has the germ and everything. It's always good to exercise some caution. Yeah, usually I go for a type of basmati rice, but that wasn't available this time, so I ended up going for a long grain one, a different long grain one that was from China. Seems fine. Even though it's long grain, it's still much shorter, much of a smaller grain. It's going to be much more glutinous than I'm used to. So I'm interested in seeing how that's going to turn out. What kind of hairstyle should I give this person? Should I just hang on? Maybe I can just have like the 5-head middle part, I think, for this particular person. I think that would be ideal. Maybe with thicker eyebrows too. Why not? I was excited because V and Ryan are going to try out Jam today. That's going to be fairly interesting, I think. I'm very much somebody who hasn't really known Jam from other Guilty Gear games. She jamming, that's right. But I do appreciate that she apparently has some kind of pet rabbit that she exploits for manual labor. Is the best that I can make out of their relationship. The rabbit doesn't get paid, right? Like I feel like that the rabbit is definitely not compensated for its labor. Yeah, it's her goon. Having a hench rabbit is kind of crazy, but it is maybe a wise move with the economy being what it is, I think. I feel like it's much easier to have a hench animal than a hench man. If I could make my cat do chores, I would. Having a henchman would be so fucking badass. Unfortunately, I know that I'm not responsible enough to be in charge of a henchman, but if I was, boy, the wonders that would occur. I don't know. Maybe I could hench for someone and they could hench back for me. You know, we have like a sort of hench rotation system. Like, you know how like an apartment with multiple occupants might have a chore wheel? Like maybe we could have a hench wheel. Like maybe they get my hench custody for like days of the week starting with T, and I get it on the other weekdays. And we split weekends 50-50, something like that. We would have a hench schedule. I don't know. I feel like the word goon obviously is already kind of appealing. Like being somebody's goon does have like an appeal to it. But I personally do prefer the term henchman, not just because of the connotation that the word goon has nowadays, but also just because I feel like it sounds more professional. Like somebody's goon sounds like very mercenary work, but being a henchman has like an implication of loyalty, I think. Like I feel like you wouldn't trust your goon with your life, but you could trust your henchman with your life. Or your hench person, your henchy. I've discussed this at length. Goon is not the same as minion. It's not the same as hench person. You are so... That is absolutely a truth, Nuke, is the thing. Like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, there are different subcategories of subordinates. It's like a... it's like a whatchamacallit, a Fire Emblem weapon wheel. Minions beat hench people beat goons, and goons can beat minions. That's like the subordinated weapon triangle. But yeah, I feel like minion has like the strict connotation that they are inferior to you, either in terms of like raw capability or like a minion is almost like having an intern, right? Like it's not somebody that you should take too seriously, but like they are still like loyal to you. It has that implication of loyalty. Goon, I think, has a more like violence oriented kind of connotation. Hench person is like middle of the road, I think. Like hench person is very neutral. It does implicate some level of intelligence, though, and loyalty, as I said. And perhaps nefariousness. Like I feel like you could have non-evil minions, but I don't think you can have like a non-evil hench person. But yeah, I'd love to read your dissertation on that if you still have a link to it. Been watching a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles lately. The Foot Soldier Ninjas are minions. They are not goons. That's Bebop and Rocksteady. I see it. I see the vision. I do think that Goon definitely also has like some level of personality implied to it. Maybe. But yeah, no, Bebop and Rocksteady are for sure goons. I feel like I was really into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a child, despite the fact that I would never be able to like watch the series on any normal channels. Like there was a phase of my life where I really liked Ninja Turtles, and I remember I used to watch like episodes from the 1980s cartoons split into 3 parts on YouTube. Fun times though. Those were very much idyllic days. Back when you could still find that sort of thing without it being letterboxed in some kind of bizarre DMCA evasion sort of framework. Who would? I only ever caught the original on VHS. I mostly watched the 2003 video series on 4Kids. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember trying to find episodes of the 2003 series, but I never really managed to catch anything. 'Twas a fruitless endeavor, which makes sense because I think this would have been at like 2008 or something. And it was, I imagine that maybe a DVD might have been out, but I don't imagine it would have been easy to upload it on YouTube, even in those sort of Wild West days. I think black hair for this one as well. Okay. Then what's next on the platter? Ooh, very powerful profile. Maybe down here just because this person's already kind of, or I could just flip it. There we go. Now there's no problem. They do look like they're about to share a sweet little kiss, though. But you know what? That's not really a me problem. That's between these two mannequins. But yeah, I think the only kind of classic children's TV series that I was ever into only passively was Transformers. Because I think like I just really like the toys, but I did not give a single fuck about Optimus Prime or any of the other mechanical organisms on that show. Or maybe I did have a face for it. Who knows? I feel like back in those days because I couldn't get access to like televised episodes of those series, I would just like scrounge whatever I could find. Like I remember being trying to do that for Sonic X. I definitely had like a huge Sonic phase as a kid. I remember that very vividly. Having a Sonic phase is kind of a rite of passage, I believe. Okay, I might have over-exaggerated the nose here a little bit. I feel like having a sonic phase is a lot like that. You know that gene that makes you taste cilantro like soap. I feel like that sort of that sort of same thing is true for having a sonic phase. Like either you do and you did have a sonic phase, or you didn't. And there's nobody who was like into Sonic only passively, I feel. How's that looking without the model? Ooh, very nice. Hmm. So maybe for this one, the kind of haircut should be... Hmm. I don't know, like maybe medium curls? Sort of like this. Yeah, like this. This makes sense to me. Hmm. We could also just use the liquify tool to push this back just a tiny bit, just so that it fits more along the kind of curvature of the head here. I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, maybe instead of adding the line for the jawbone here, for this one, we can try to just use the shading. Okay, then over here, and over here. Just kind of swirling that around a little bit. There we go. Also, I might soon start making my own cold brew coffee, because I I try to make coffee Coke by buying some cold brew coffee and mixing it with Coke, and it turned out okay. But I do also realize it did also kind of like awaken the kind of desire for cold brew within me. Like it's just very lovely to have a coffee that I can drink without like needing to get it hot first. So I might have to look into methods of making my own. There's more than enough places that sell like ground coffee. I think maybe the only tricky part would be finding the correct containers to siphon it out of once it's finished brewing in the fridge. But yeah, that's something that I'm going to look into doing. I might be able to use those same filters for things like cold brew tea, so that's also a possibility. I'm really liking how this one turned out. It is kind of crazy to think about how you like find out about like different types of coffee and such, because I was like, at first I heard like cold brew and I thought that it was like a sort of industrial process that was like complicated and took effort, and then I read it up on it, and it's literally just putting ground coffee into water, letting that seep overnight, and then taking out the coffee grounds one way or the other, usually through a filter. And it's like, that sounds really easy. In fact, that sounds easier than making normal coffee, because you don't even really need a machine for that. Okay. Randomize me a good one. Oh, shit. Oh, that is a powerful brow we have there. Maybe around here, I think. Do we have this angle yet? I don't think we do. I think maybe we can go for this angle. But yeah, that's such a, it's very kind of a boxy head, very wide. I do like it. Very powerful and broad. Like, okay, like if we, why is that? What? Okay, that's weird. Why is it? Oh, I see. Hang on. I was accidentally moving the whole folder rather than just a layer. That's why it was acting strangely. Okay, let's see. Thinking about hairstyles for this one. Maybe I can actually put this guy in a hat or something. That might be ideal. I also really like how flat the nose looks from certain angles. It's very pointy, but it also has like a... I was gonna say it has a flatness to it, but yeah. May not the most poetic descriptor, but I don't know, pointy and flat feels like an interesting combination. For our nose, I mean. Pointy and flat it kind of describes most squares, or cuboids, really, for that matter. Most isosceles triangles as well. A large number of triangles could actually be described as pointy and flat, I think. Hell, I think you could make an argument that most polygons qualify as that as well. I don't know, even though a square is made up of 4 right angle corners, I've never been able to conceptualize it as pointy. A diamond is pointy though, but that's just a square on its side. Ooh, pardon me. I wonder why that is. Maybe because squares are always contrasted to circles and triangles. And you know, triangle is kind of pointing mogging the square a little bit when you have that to compare it to. Okay, then over here. That seems good. Yeah, we're definitely gonna need to add some definition for the neck here. It just doesn't look right when you don't have anything in this area here. Ooh, even like with the solid black shading, black fill, it looks really good. That being said, we have access to more sophisticated tools at our disposal. Okay. We also need to get rid of the little bit of shadow here. There we go. Hey, Butter, how you doing? How's it hanging? What are you up to? We're making random people on this program called MakeHuman, and it's been a lot of fun just sketching out different ideas for their hairstyles and potentially their disposition based on their heads. Yeah, you can see here the other ones that we've done for now. It's nice because I get to practice it with a few different head shapes that I don't normally think of. Like, don't get me wrong, I do love the 3D assets that Clip Studio has, but sometimes they're a little bit... Because it's always the same mannequin, you can't really change the shape of its head too much. You kind of have to take matters into your own hands for variety. Finally got that new PC, I'm still getting some stuff set up. Hey, congratulations! It's always exciting to have a new computer, and it's especially exciting because now you can get all kinds of stuff working on it. You never really lose your motivation to cook, but it helps to have the right tools in the kitchen. But yeah, I didn't know that... did your previous PC get damaged somehow, or was this just a straight upgrade kind of thing? I think I'm probably going to use my desktop computer until the day it can no longer run. Power supply burnt out. Darn. Yeah, I'm glad you got a new one up and running then. I don't know. I feel like nowadays there's less and less reason to upgrade your PC. I think like back in the day, being able to install new hardware for your computer and being able to stay on top of everything was really key to enjoying computer games as a hobby. But nowadays, it's much less emphasized, I think, which is for the better. But yeah, power supply burnt out. Did it suffer some kind of electrical damage from a storm or something? Or what did it was it just the end of its natural lifespan? Okay, we can probably use a little bit of the soft eraser on this upper lip and then blend that out. This guy needs some kind of facial hair as well, I think. Oh yeah, the devious soul patch. Soul patch with no other facial hair is like one of the funniest facial hair combos to have, I think. Well, is that the one that Fred Durst had? I think that might be the one that Fred Durst had. Let me Google something real quick. I mean, kinda. Not really, though. Fred Durst did have more to his facial hair back in the glory days of Limp Bizkit. I say, as a guy who has never listened to Limp Bizkit really anything other than recreationally. I feel like Limp Bizkit is one of those bands that's really influential, but I have no idea the extent to which. Like, that happens very often because I'm just not very knowledgeable about music history and how the different genres influence each other. Possibly. It's a second power supply already, meaning that once I get one last repair for the old one to get my project files, and then it's at the end of its natural lifespan. Ah. Yeah, I hope you can successfully recover your project files then. That's always a really big concern. I should probably back up my documents at some point this year. And speaking of backing stuff up, I should probably save my work so far. There we go. Okay, let's randomize this one again. What do we got? Okay, ooh, I kind of like this one. Very broad, very peaceful looking. Think maybe in this direction? Save work, redeem. God, I do. That's the only thing that I regret or really feel bad about not having anymore due to the whatchamacallit, the affiliate, the renouncing affiliate that I did. Because now I just cannot do point redeem shit ever again. Now, granted, I didn't do much with the point redeems anyway, but I do feel like, I don't know, I feel like as a viewer, having that sort of agency does feel very nice. I don't know. I think I didn't get swag enough with it back when I still had the point redeems. Like, I think the only time that I really made use of them was with the affiliate send-off thing that I did, but I don't know. I don't know what I would use them for. I think I would probably, I don't know. There's probably some way. I know Jupiter has a thing that they use to. Oh, this one has a cleft chin. That's rare. But yeah, I know Jupiter has something that they use to keep track of, that they used to use rather, to keep track of their points before they got. Actually, I don't think they're affiliate just yet. Strange. But yeah, there has to be some way that I can still create like a point market. And I think that would almost be better for purposes of things like the garage sale auction and everything like that, because I think then being able to have like a separate system for those points makes it much easier to manipulate and control those points rather than having to negotiate with the kind of do's and don'ts and rules that Twitch's point system has. What kind of haircut should we give this person? No, we should give them like very bushy eyebrows. I think that looks good because I think like they have a relatively more aged face. No, that doesn't seem quite right. I am gonna give him like eyebrow fold lines though. That feels correct. And a mohawk. You know what? Actually, I think that could work. Let me try. Let me do that. You know what? If you think about it, having a mohawk is like having a third eyebrow, kinda. A mohawk is sort of like a third eyebrow. I don't know. I feel like that's like, I feel like eyebrow has a very strict clinical definition, but I don't think that's the funniest outcome we could use this for. Because I feel like the defining point of an eyebrow is its ability to help you express yourself. So I think unless you could wiggle your mohawk like an eyebrow, I don't think it would count as a third eyebrow. Yeah, one extra large vertical eyebrow. Okay, then something like this. Okay, I think I see it. I think I see what I need to do. So we're going to add a little bit of extra shadow here and here. Add a single bit of shadow here. Some people can wiggle their scalp. That's true, I've seen it. There was this one video I saw of one of those hairless Sphinx cats that when somebody poked it, its skin started crawling towards the finger in a weird way. Which I assume is just what happens with cats normally. It's just that you can't really see it. I do also remember somebody showing a picture of their newborn cat, which wasn't a Sphinx cat. It was, I think, a Devon Rex cat, which didn't have a whole lot of hair initially. And it showed like, because it didn't have much hair, you could see the individual wrinkles on the skin of it. And they were complaining that the cat was exposing its brain at them, which I think is really funny. I bet it must feel good as fuck if you're a cat and you can just like wiggle your skin and have extreme control over it at all times. Right? Because like I feel like, I don't know, maybe it would be more trouble than it was worth though, because like if you think about it, the more control you have over your body, the more bother you can feel with it. Right? Like, for example, we have tummy pain, but we can't like control the speed at which we digest stuff. Can you imagine the kind of apocalyptic tummy pains we could give ourselves if we had like active conscious control of our digestive tract like snakes? I'm not sure if snakes actually have control of their digestive tract. That just came to mind, but hang on, we can Google this. Can snakes control? Because like they have muscles to push stuff down. Digestive tract. Physiology. Oh shit, this is a deep question because the first result was something called Science Direct. How do snakes digest food? That's an AI site. Here we go. How snakes' digestive system is different from humans. Snakes don't bite and chew, they swallow their food. Hang on. Let me put this up on the Jumbotron. Snakes don't bite and chew like we do. They swallow their food whole, sometimes animals many times bigger than their heads, and rely on a digestive system that's radically different from ours. Yes, okay. Unlike humans who nibble, chew, and digest in stages, snakes go into a full-body metabolic overdrive with each meal. Understanding how this process works not only shows us how different species survive, it also reveals how adaptable life on Earth can be. Okay. Esophagus muscle. In humans, the esophagus pushes food with strong muscle contractions. In snakes, body muscles help squeeze prey down. Okay, so we can't... Oh, that's very graphic. But yeah, no, okay. No, yeah, okay, so snakes do have control of their digestive tract. I was completely in the right about that. That feels wrong somehow. I feel like I shouldn't have been right about that. But yeah, no, can you imagine the kind of apocalyptic tummy aches you could give yourself if you were in control of your digestive tract? I'm very glad that shit's automated. the internet gatekeeping snake knowledge. No, that's pretty. The internet was freely giving the snake knowledge. The internet was verifying my snake knowledge. Which, granted, I don't have much snake knowledge. I've come to appreciate them more and more as I've grown, though, I feel. I feel like as a child I didn't have a huge appreciation for snakes. I feel like that's matured within recent years. Still wouldn't like one in my home, mind, but, you know. Baby steps. Now, let me tell you something that the internet did gatekeep from me at one time. The internet gatekept me from learning about which Roman emperor was the shortest. Back in the day, right, I was trying to make... Okay, so I'm not going to provide much context for this. I was trying to find an alternative name for Little Caesar's Palace, or Little Caesar's Stadium, which is a stadium in the US. And I was like, okay, Little Caesar, we can probably rename this to like a short Roman emperor. Yes, this seems like a solid plan that is very foolproof. Surely we know which Roman emperor was the shortest. It turns out that we do not, in fact, know who was the shortest. It's actually like they didn't keep very detailed records of how tall each Roman emperor was, presumably because somewhere in town they had like a life-size statue of them where you could just like go see for yourself. I know that Pliny the Elder, or no, I do think it was Pliny the Elder. No, it might not have been Pliny the Elder. It might have been. It was some other guy. Who was it? A friend I made recently told me about this guy. Who? Let me remember this. Plutarch. That's the one. So Plutarch talked about this one guy called what's his nuts? Titus Quintus, I think? Titus Flaminius, right? And after giving an account of Titus Flaminius, he was like, "Oh, by the way, if you want to know what this guy looks like, there's a statue of him in downtown. You can just go peep that if you want to see what he looked like." And while I'm sure that was very helpful for the Roman people who were living in Rome at the time, for us modern plebes, it's actually not very helpful to just say that there was a statue of this guy at some point. So that's some hella gate-kept knowledge. Yeah, insane work. You used to be able to get away with a whole lot of shit. We should have beaten the fuck out of Pliny the Elder for making up the Bonnekin as an animal. Okay, he didn't make it. Okay, so several disclaimers to that sentence. One, we should respect Pliny the Elder. Two, Pliny the Elder didn't invent the Bonnekin. Some other guy invented the Bonnekin, the mythical animal, and Pliny the Elder just wrote it down. Third of all, you know, even if it was bogus information or a fucked up thing to write down, it's still good that he wrote it down. But yeah, you have to be a real sick freak to come up with an animal like the Bonnekin. That thing has me traumatized to this day since I learned what it was. Looks it up. Yeah, you should look it up for sure. Yeah, look it up and maybe like put on like an auto reader or something just so that the rest of your family can hear about this thing. It's not bad. It's just kind of baffling and a little bit impactful, let's say. Like once you learn about what a Bonnekin is, you kind of like just are able to recall that information at some point. Like that, it's such a bizarre creature that has no reason to exist that you kind of just live with the knowledge of its purported existence afterwards. You know what? In fact, let me make your life easier. Let me spell it. Tell your friends and family to look up what a Bonnekin is. Okay, what kind of hairstyle should we give this person? I kind of want a more feminine hairstyle for this one. Maybe like a wolf cut or something. There we go. It's Captain if Captain was a quadruped. Poor Captain. Nobody should have to live. Nobody should have to live with that kind of tummy upset. If you're able to, on any level, relate to the Bonnikin, I do think that you should be owed some manner of financial compensation. Like, genuinely, I am so sorry. Okay, there we go. Maybe a little bit of a thicker eyebrow. I don't know. Butter, what's the weirdest mythical creature that you've ever heard of? If you can't think of one, like you can just go for your favorite mythical creature, but like I feel like everybody's heard of at least like one or two really messed up mythical creatures in their time. The world is broad and it has many mythologies. Okay. Then we're gonna add a little something here. There we go. Maybe a little bit for the hair as well. Okay, removing this, we can try to add, or at least blend out some of these parts. I'm looking forward to dinner today. I'm gonna be able to eat the new rice that I bought with this tomato and beef soup. Casually draws IRL butter. Oh, oh shit! Is this kind of the look that you're rocking? Well, you know, statistically speaking, it had to happen at some point that I would just end up drawing an eerily accurate portrait of someone you know. Like I did hit randomize on these people, but I think unless it had some like truly out there kind of output, right? I feel like it would end up looking like somebody you know at some point. You know, including yourself. I think that's kind of wonderful though, because I feel very hesitant to call, you know, I call in the stream announcement, I call these like homunculuses, but I think that's like giving, it's definitely too harsh of a term, because I think like these often end up looking just like somebody that you know. But honestly, I feel like homunculus is also an appropriate term just because like of the way that we produce these. close enough. I did cut my hair recently, so it's not as long as that anymore, but it's normally that long. I see, I see. Honestly, I kind of wish I had grown out my hair more back when I still had it fairly long. Like, especially around the shoulders. I feel like just because of the way that I cut my hair normally, I don't often get a lot of length on the back, like over here. It's usually length on the front that I need to worry about and kind of and keep under control. I wouldn't find a work for like a year plus after I graduated anyway. So you know what? I would have been okay if I had just like let it keep growing for a little bit. But you know that rice is already kind of cooked. Bag of rice has hair. Outside of K-Fabi, I should clarify. Or if that bores you, I can just say that I was going through a very specific phase during COVID. Yeah, we all dealt with things differently. Some of us made sourdough starter. Some of us tried to defy nature and grew out hair, even though we have no scalp. You know, we've all been in these kinds of situations. I'm sure you can relate. Weirdly enough, I don't think I did pick up any particularly weird hobbies during COVID. Like, I feel like most of the hobbies that I had at that point were already kind of the kind of things that you got into during COVID. Like, at that point, I think I was already kind of fairly into VTubers. For example, no, surely. I mean, sort of, yes and no. Like, I was aware of them, but I think during that time, I think September of 2020 was like when Hololive English dropped. So that's kind of when I think things kicked really into overdrive. But at that point, there would have already been like a fairly sizable host of people who had started VTubing, even in English. God, it's always really funny looking at... V one time shared this advice that she found where she was looking up for like growth tips as a VTuber, and one of the growth tips for this article that she found in like 2020 in 2022 was like start streaming in 2020. During that time, a lot of pioneers in this space were established, which makes a lot of sense, right? Okay, I'm going to move this one a little bit to the left, and I think that's going to do us for today. Goes back in time to become a popular streamer? Yeah. What, like it's hard? Oh, shit. Thank God. Gotta thank God every day I haven't found success as a streamer. Like, sometimes it does feel difficult to find a reason to keep going, but other times it's like, you know what? Maybe it's a good thing I've never gone viral or anything. No, it's definitely a good thing. I think I would melt from stress. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to use a gradient map on these suckers. And that way we can have a little bit of variety in the colors that we have here. I want one where everybody has a slightly different color. Ooh, this one's very bold. I like this one. This one's also pretty good, though. Ooh, I think this one might be my favorite, though. I don't know, something about it just feels very gentle. This one's a bit harsh, but you know what? It also looks interesting. Okay, let's use this one then. And I think the other thing we might be able to do is just putting this on top and then adding a slight blur to it. then hitting it with like maybe a red for the color. So hang on. Rasterize, and then... yeah, sort of like that. I think this looks nice. It was fun to just shoot the breeze while doing this. From the snake talk from earlier, imagine you could control tummy pain like Unhurt's tummy. Yeah. That would be kind of sick, actually. Like, if you could just, like, settle your stomach with a thought. That would be very baller. I would enjoy... Listen, I don't often get stomach pain. But I do feel like if I could control it, I would just feel very... It's a good thing that humans cannot just unhurt their tummy, because I feel like then we would have, like, such hubris upon our ideas of, like, food and how we eat, that it would just... in a just world, we would be struck dead for our impudence. But yeah, I think that's good work for today. Let me think. V and Ryan should still be up. We should go say hi to them. Why is that? Hang on. There we go. I was showing something strange earlier. What was I doing? Right, we're going to go raid V and Ryan. Let's go say hi. Yeah, we'll be back on Sunday with Esoteric Ebb. In the meantime, take it easy. Have a good weekend. And I'll see you around. Later. Bye.